Welcome back. Did you know that April is Stress Awareness Month? This is really the perfect time to put the focus on the burnout that we all can experience from both physical and emotional exhaustion.
So how can we cope with stress? Joining us now is Stanford University School of Medicine professor Dr. Greg Hammer. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Hammer.
Great to be with you, Scott and Kara.
Yeah, I love that you've come up with this thing that we can remember, GAIN.
GAIN.
And so it's gratitude. Let's see if I can get this. Gratitude, acceptance, intention, and N is for non-judgment. We were talking that that's kind of difficult to not judge ourselves and not judge other people. Why do you think it's so important when it comes to burnout to not be judgmental?
Well, I think, first of all, acute stress is a natural phenomenon. It's adaptive in many cases. Unfortunately, when it's just triggered by our thoughts, it's not so adaptive. But that's okay. If we have resilience, we can neutralize the acute stress responses like the adrenaline and the cortisol and prevent that acute stress from becoming chronic, which is really what we want to do. So we need tools for that. We need resilience tools, and the GAIN practice, including the N for non-judgment, is just one mindfulness practice, but it's my favorite.
Yeah. And we can do this in a matter of minutes. I know Scott will always say, when I say, hey, we need to, I've over the years worked on developing a meditation practice that works for me on the go. But Scott will say, I don't have time. So a lot of people say, I don't have time to be mindful. And that might be, do you not have time to do the only thing that's going to help you with everything? But how can we be mindful quickly?
Well, I could just describe the GAIN practice for you briefly as one such mindful meditation practice. And again, it can be done in 3 or 4 minutes. So we got up in the morning, we open the blinds, we do our morning hygiene, we find a comfortable place to sit, we close our eyes, and we focus first on the breath and actually just slowing the breath down, maybe inhaling slowly to a count of 3, pausing to a count of 3, slowly exhaling without effort to a count of 4, and repeating that several times. We're breathing at 6 times a minute if each count is 1 second. And just doing that activates our vagus nerve and our parasympathetic nervous system, which is that side of our autonomic or automatic nervous system that counteracts the sympathetic or fight or flight side, which is the acute stress side. So just the breathing itself is actually quite helpful. And then we can go through a 30, 45 second each self-guided tour of gratitude, acceptance, intention, non-judgment, return to the breath, and we're ready to go out in the world. So it can be done in a short period of time.
What could, I every now and then you have a bad day. You get a little stressed out. What's the difference between just like that and burnout? How do you know you're burnt?
Well, burnout, as you said in the opening, is the mental and physical exhaustion that comes from chronic stress.
Okay.
How do we know it? Well, I think it's like something else people have quoted. You sort of know it when you see it, or in this case, you know it when you experience it. And I think it's manifest by things like shorter and shorter patience.
Yep.
We all get a little tired at the end of the day. When that happens earlier and earlier in the day, when we're going to work and we feel like we just want to leave sooner and sooner, when we're not so patient with our friends, our spouse, ourselves.
Yeah.
So I think there are a lot of ways to know that we're getting impatient and exhausted, and those are burnout manifestations.
Right, and I think as moms, we notice it when we can't be patient with our kids or our spouse, and you're snapping at everybody, and
Auntie Krabatha.
Auntie Krabatha shows up. Yes, Auntie Krabatha, that's my friend. So what do we do when we're noticing? Because does it mean like once you're burnt out, you need this big time away, which nobody has time for? What do we do to heal the burnout so we can even do better the next day and maybe forgive ourselves for the mistake?
Right. Well, burnout is partly caused by the way our brains are wired. We're wired to be rather negative, and we have a hard time being present, which is where peace and happiness live. So getting away for vacation is fine, but that's really not the issue. The issue is rewiring the way we think, rewiring the way we experience. And we can do this through something called neuroplasticity. Our brains are very malleable, but we need a plan. We need the I in GAIN, which is intention. And I think that's why a daily practice begins to set us up for really becoming more grateful, accepting, intentional, and non-judgmental. That's what we want. We want a long-term plan, much like our sleep, exercise, nutrition habits, which are also remedies for the physical manifestations of burnout.
Yeah.
We have to we only have about 20 seconds, but you say sleep, exercise, and nutrition are the tripod that supports our physical and emotional well-being. Well said.
Absolutely. And then the mindfulness practice for our mental and spiritual well-being.
Well, we can't thank you enough for being with us on Great Day. We hope you'll come back and visit us again soon.
Anytime, my friends.
Thanks, Dr. Hammer.